April 1941. The Libyan desert outside Tobruk was quiet just before dawn. German tanks lined up in the sand, engines idling, crews confident. The British and Australian defenders were tired, surrounded, and outgunned. Everyone expected the German armor to break through within hours. But by nightfall, something shocking had happened. 17 of the attacking tanks were disabled, burning, or abandoned. The attack collapsed. German commanders were forced to pull back and rethink their plans. This did not happen because of one miracle weapon. It happened because of a system. Mines, guns, artillery, infantry, and hidden inside that system was a weapon many officers had already written off as useless. A heavy, painful, unpopular rifle that experts said could not stop modern tanks. Yet this so-called obsolete British rifle helped change how Rommel fought in the desert. Stay with this story until the very end, because the lesson behind this weapon is not just about metal and bullets. It is about how wars are really won, and why obsolete does not always mean useless. The rifle in question was the boys' anti-tank rifle. By the time the Desert War reached its peak, many soldiers hated it. Officers doubted it. Critics mocked it. On paper, they were not wrong. The boys could not punch through the front armor of newer German tanks. Against a Panzer III or Panzer IV head-on, the rifle was almost pointless. Soldiers learned this the hard way. Bullets struck steel, sparks flew, paint chipped, and a tank kept coming. Yet the mistake was not in the numbers. The mistake was in the thinking. The boys' rifle was not meant to win the war alone. It was meant to fill a gap. And in the desert, gaps could decide everything. To understand why this rifle mattered, we need to go back before the war even started. In the early 1930s, tanks were changing fast. Armor was getting thicker. Engines were getting stronger. Infantry units had almost nothing to stop them. A soldier with a rifle watching a tank roll forward had only bad options: run and hope, or stay and die. The British Army knew this was a problem. They needed something an infantry unit could carry, something cheaper than large guns, something that could at least threaten armor at short range. The War Office gave this task to Captain Henry Charles Boys at the Royal Small Arms Factory in Enfield. Boys understood one simple truth: to defeat armor, you need speed, not size. Speed. A fast bullet hitting steel could do real damage, even if the weapon was portable. He designed a large caliber rifle using a powerful cartridge. The result was a .55-inch round, far bigger than a normal rifle bullet. Early versions fired a heavy projectile at high speed. Later versions improved this speed even more. On paper, the rifle could punch through thin armor at close range. It was not light. It was not easy to carry. It was not pleasant to fire, but it was something infantry could use when nothing else was available. Captain Boys never lived to see his rifle in service. He died before the war began. The weapon was named after him, and production rushed forward. Factories in Britain and Canada produced tens of thousands of rifles. By the time production stopped, around 62,000 had been made. That is not a small experiment. That is a major investment. And yet, as the war progressed, critics grew louder. Tank armor thickened faster than expected. The boys' rifle fell behind. By 1941, many officers said it was obsolete. Here is where the story turns. Obsolete compared to what? Against heavy tanks, yes. The boys' rifle struggled. But not every vehicle on the battlefield was a heavy tank. In fact, most were not. Armies move on fuel, supplies, and information. Tanks do not drive blind. They need scouts. They need armored cars. They need trucks. They need light vehicles to probe defenses and protect flanks. In North Africa, German forces did not operate alone. They fought alongside Italian units, many of which used much lighter armor. Italian tankettes carried very thin steel. Well within the boys' rifle's ability to penetrate, German armored cars used for scouting had thin protection as well. Fuel trucks had almost none. Ammunition carriers were just steel boxes on wheels. A single rifle team hidden in the sand could stop a column cold by hitting the right vehicle at the right moment. A disabled fuel truck could halt in advance. A destroyed scout car could blind a unit. The boys' rifle could do all of this. The rifle proved its value even before the Desert War. In Norway in 1940, British soldiers used it against German armor with surprising success. In France, soldiers held streets and blocked advances by knocking out lighter vehicles. These were not lucky shots. They were correct use of the weapon. Aim for what you can kill, not what you wish you could kill. Then came North Africa. During early fighting against Italian forces, the boy's rifle found many suitable targets. Tankheads burned, trucks exploded, infantry hesitated. The rifle was not a tank killer in the heroic sense. It was a battlefield disruptor. And disruption matters. By the time Rommel arrived in Africa, German armor had improved. British forces knew better than to waste boys' rounds on the front of medium tanks. Instead, they integrated the rifle into a larger defensive system. Heavy guns waited for heavy tanks. Artillery fired directly at armor when possible. Mines slowed movement. Infantry stayed hidden, and boys' rifle teams waited for the gaps dotted Tobruk. This system came together. As German tanks advanced, they passed through the outer defenses. Heavy guns focused on the main threat. Meanwhile, boys' teams targeted what followed behind. Armored cars probing for weak points, trucks carrying supplies, light vehicles supporting the advance. Every loss added friction. Every delay increased confusion. By the end of the day, the attack stalled. Rommel had expected speed and shock. He got resistance and disruption. This forced change. German commanders became more cautious. Recon units had to stay farther back. Advances slowed. More resources were devoted to protecting supply lines. No one feared the boy's rifle by name, but they respected what it represented. Infantry that could fight back. Defenses that were layered. A battlefield where no vehicle was safe just because it was not a tank. The rifle's story did not end in Africa. In the Pacific, it found new life. Japanese tanks were lightly armored. The boy's rifle could penetrate them. In New Guinea, Australian soldiers used it to stop tank attacks. One destroyed Japanese tank still sits in a museum today, its armor marked by the rifle's bullets. Physical proof that the weapon worked where it was needed. American forces even used the rifle in unusual ways. In one case, boys' rifles were used to fire on low-flying seaplanes, damaging and destroying them. This was never part of the original design. But war does not care about design intentions. It cares about results. Despite these successes, soldiers did not love the rifle. It was heavy. Recoil was brutal. Firing it could injure the shoulder or neck. The muzzle blast was fierce. Many soldiers dreaded using it. Nicknames for the rifle reflected this pain. Yet they still carried it, because when it worked. By 1943, newer weapons replaced the boy's rifle. Rocket launchers and improved anti-tank weapons took its place. But its impact remained. It taught a lesson. No weapon exists in isolation. No tool is useful everywhere. But even an imperfect weapon can shape a battlefield when used correctly. Rommel did not change tactics because of fear. He changed because reality forced him to. British defenses were not simple. They were layered. They used every tool available, even ones labeled obsolete. The boy's rifle filled spaces nothing else could fill. It attacked targets heavy guns ignored. It punished overconfidence. It slowed momentum. And in war, momentum is everything. The story of this rifle is not about nostalgia. It is about thinking clearly, about using what works, not what looks impressive, about understanding that victory often comes from systems, not single weapons. The boy's anti-tank rifle did not win battles by itself, but it helped stop attacks, protect positions, and teach hard lessons to an enemy that expected an easy fight. If you found this story valuable, please like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us which overlooked weapon or moment from history you would like to explore next.